Hello and welcome to our webinar today. I'm Craig O'Neill. I will be your host for this part 3 of our workflow walkthrough. This is about staging the next visit with your digital vehicle inspection. It is not the only feature inside of Autoflow we will be discussing today, but it is, as you will see, an important mechanism that I think can change the way your team is engaging with your CRM efforts. CRM. That is always a fun acronym because we get a lot of opinions on what it means. And hey, we're going to talk about that as we move in. With me today is my colleague, Levi Linsman. He'll be here to add commentary as our experienced veteran service advisor and a coach here at Autoflow. Thanks for joining me, Levi.
Glad to be here with you, Craig.
Hey,
thanks for having me.
You bet. Now, this topic is one we discuss this periodically, but DVI all the time. Autoflow is a lot more than just DVI. And that is something that can be easily forgotten because we talk about it so much more than everything else. So today it is going to be central to the conversation, but we're going to do a couple of things a little different. I'm going to deal with some concepts related to CRM retention efforts and CRM software in general, some theories of operation behind that, what it all means, and how our roles as service advisors, in particular service advisors, but yeah, technicians too, how our roles will overlap with what our systems and processes are trying to do in order to get our clients coming back in the door for the right reasons. Now, I like to begin with a question. When do retention efforts begin? And feel free to comment on this, folks. There's no wrong answer, sort of, on this, but feel free to chat in comments here. We'll see your comments in the comments section here on this platform. This is our second webinar on the StreamYard platform. And we do love when you can engage with us there. And any questions that you get, feel free to ask them there as well. We have Dan and we have Scott in the back room here working on making sure those questions get answered. And we're going to have some fun here. Thanks for being there, Scott and Dan. So, all right, when do our retention efforts begin? We are going to answer this in multiple ways as we move through. So keep it in the back of your mind. I want to do a brief thing when I speak on this class, and I'll be delivering another version of this a couple times here next month. ASTA is one, and also at the Mars Marketing Intensive with the Institute here at the beginning of the month of September. One of the things I like to talk about is this JD Power report from 2025. This is interesting because if you've seen some of our earlier webinars, we talk about some of the results from even the 2023 year where satisfaction was going down on the role of the service advisor. Well, hey, good news. It's back up again. 2025, some better results in the aftermarket's measurements on customer satisfaction there. But I highlighted a couple of key points in red on this one. There's still room for improvement, specifically in the areas like facility cleanliness. But I like this next part, post-service follow-up to ensure work was performed satisfactorily. And I think that's just an interesting statement coming from a measuring scientific survey system that is really assessing client satisfaction, and that this was a piece that was drawn out from the results as an area that shops in specifically the aftermarket can improve on, drawing out those post-service follow-ups. This is a hot button item when I'm talking with staff at the shops because, hey, we get a little bit busy, and it's not surprising that we are. If you've seen this slide before, it's one I'd love to use to illustrate all of the things we are stacking on top of our service advisors. And even in a software platform where we're trying to automate some things, there's still a lot for the individuals on our staff to do. And I could have made 3 more slides. There's already 30 things on this one, I believe, of just things that we're asking our staff to do. And I'm going to tell you right now that in the course of this conversation, I am going to be the guy suggesting one more thing, maybe 2 more things, an extra thing that we would ask our service advisors to do. But I'm going to parse it very carefully here. I'm going to build out an argument that'll make this a little easier for you to do. And I think you're going to have a better understanding of how I see software in the process. But the human process, and Levi, I'm sure you can relate to this, the human element, when our jobs get really chaotic and busy, This is about all of the tasks that we can do, regardless of what's being asked of us.
There's only so much you can handle in a day, and you try to prioritize everything that's in front of you, like right without trying to forget, right?
Correct. So if you've seen this before from us, I think this is a worthy illustration. We did part 1 and part 2 on our workflow walkthrough, and you don't need to hit those right away. If you're watching this as the recording, keep with us here. I think you can start with this one and then still go back to those others and get a lot of grease for the wheels here on your shop processes. But yeah, Levi, I've been in the role myself. It's been a few more years since you obviously have more recent experience than I do behind the counter. But this was the nature of my existence. I could accomplish only a few of the things. And then the idea of being engaged in doing retention work while I'm so busy reacting to the people that are in front of me now, or just the tickets that I'm responsible for today, would be a daunting task.
It can be very challenging with all the details that service advisors have to go through to get the job done, especially when the phone's interrupting you every 2 minutes.
Yep.
So if you have a process that can help make it easier, I'm happy to hear about it.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
And so there were times when you were still working as advisor, I would love to champion some of these things. And I'll tell you all right now, some of what we're discussing today, very few people are able to implement. And I'm going to provide some additional solutions and context for you to make it a little easier. But here's the thing. When it comes to software, what are you asking? I'll tell you this. The number one thing I hear, and Levi, you hear this too, I'm sure, like, can you just automate this? I just want this to be on autopilot so that the retention efforts and the follow-ups and all the things just happen without my staff having to do anything.
Yeah, I definitely do hear it because it's easy to forget a step when you have 1,000 steps to do throughout the day.
There was a phrase that came up in some of my readings recently. I'm going to get it wrong right now, but convenience is a coping mechanism was the gist of the statement that was being made. Convenience is a coping mechanism. So when we have to make software to make things very easy, a lot of times it's symptomatic of there's some other things going on that you're having a hard time doing, and you know they need to get done, and you just need an easier way to do it. We need it to be more convenient. All right. So automation versus action. These are the two things that I see most commonly. If this were just a simple scale and your software is in the middle of it all, I understand the need for automation very, very well because of the slides before. I think it's very clear our staff can't always do what we want them to do. We need that consistent repeatability, however, in order to make sure that our processes are actually working. So enters some task automation. But all actions, I don't care what it is, when somebody is doing the action, it is always going to produce a more meaningful piece of engagement with another person. This is a relationship-based business. It is a relationship-based business. It is a relationship-based business. You cannot automate a relationship. You cannot. So we do need staff to be engaged. What does this balance look like? And is it even a balancing act? I think in terms of balance, things can get very out of balance very quickly, and things turn into a mess when you are focused totally on automation because you have total chaos in here. Your staff's stuck. There's maybe consistent repeatability of tasks on automation. Your CRM system might be sending out some baseline reminders. Folks, everybody in the world can have a system that will automatically blast out things to an audience that you've entered in. Any system can do it, which means if someone has used another facility, guess what? They have all those things too. They have all those things as well. Now with Autoflow, we take a different approach. It isn't just a simple question of task automation versus staff action. It's a yes and thing. These are not two mutually exclusive things. Software is a tool, just like a wrench or a tablet in your hand. The software is a platform by which your team can function. And yeah, you could get out of balance in that too, but it's going to be a little harder to walk off the ledge if you understand some of the features and systems that we have here in Autoflow. And those are the things that we're going to talk about today as we move into this conversation further. But think of that yes and. It's an improv topic. Levi, my Toastmasters club will usually talk about this. Is we have a lot of improv comedians in my Toastmasters club. Yes and is a really common topic for improv comedians to bring in, and I think it applies to a lot of other things in our life. All right. In this session, folks, we have a few things that I'm going to introduce as concepts, and I don't want to overwhelm you with concepts before we go into the tool, but I need you to have this in mind. Practical use of information is one of the core ingredients for any successful retention program. We need good data, in other words. We're going to talk about that in the context of our rainy day folder. This is really important to recognize how DVI is going to play into that. We're going to talk about some other things too that you can introduce at the end of every visit, very small changes in behavior that you're already doing. And that'll comprise itself with a vehicle delivery checklist, which we can also provide you a resource for at the end of this conversation. The other thing is our orientation, how our team understands their role in the retention process, not just their role, but our fundamental responsibility in this organization. We have to not just think about empowering your staff anymore. We are actually freeing them to become a critical part of the client retention process. That means that the goal each day is not to get as many tickets out the door and sell the work. The goal each day is to create an experience that customers love that will get them to come back again. The sales takes care of itself in a model that focuses on retention. All right. Where do I get some of these concepts? It actually focuses from an article I read back in 2003, and it's on this topic of creating a superior customer relating capability. 2003, I want you to think about just for a moment. Think about the technology in 2003. Go way, way back, folks. I was 1 year out of high school. Flip phones were a thing, but smartphones were not. CRM systems were just coming into fruition, and the internet, which was becoming more widely accessible, as well as websites for businesses, and people were arguing whether or not they should keep using Yellow Page ads. There's a different world, but in that time period, CRM tools and technologies were not moving the needle. And I don't believe that it has changed too much in our era today. And I love how the author said that the advantage of businesses that do stand out in their market doesn't have much to do with CRM tools or technology. Oh no, what's Craig saying? This is an Autoflow webinar. It's got CRM components and it's a tool of technology. Those things are necessary. You will all have these tools and technology in your shop, no question. But by themselves, they are insufficient. The author of this article, George S. Day, made this very, very clear. Necessary but insufficient was how he saw CRM. The real difference is creating a superior client relating capability. He called it customer relating capability. And we're going to talk about the ingredients for that just briefly here. And I already mentioned them in the previous slide before that one. Orientation, configuration, and use of information. By orientation, I mean that we must engage our staff in such a way that they understand retention's the goal. Retention's the goal. Retention is the goal. And if the business doesn't have an orientation like that, you can expect your staff also will not have an orientation towards that. And thus, they will focus on those red line items that we were showing you earlier. They do the basic stuff that is right in front of them all the time. Orientation is the most important ingredient. Configuration and structure, our processes, our workflows, the tools, that is a component of this as well. And then it's just a matter of actually collecting useful data. The problem that is cited in George Day's article is that most businesses tend to focus on use of information first. They don't develop systems and processes to support the use of information, and they had no orientation towards retention to begin with. So we are going to just briefly state orientation absolutely matters here. And now we can move into some of the benefits of using DVI. So if you already have the goal of engaging our staff in retention, and you're already doing digital inspections like we showed in part 1 of our series, well, you already understand a lot of the value that goes into these things. DVI is valuable. There's no pricing, has images and videos. The items inspected are relevant pieces of information the client must have in order to make decisions. The impact on sales is a non-negotiable thing. Like anyone who wants to argue whether DVI is making an impact on sales, please, we've done a lot of analysis on this. It can have a tremendous, literal 5-figure impact on the bottom line month over month when clients view the inspection. The point I'll make for this particular webinar is just this. If it has impact on helping people make buying decisions now in the shop, it also has impact to help them make scheduling decisions on when to come back into the shop. Make sense? If you have any questions on that, please let me know. Now, what I want to focus first is on identifying 3 key mistakes that I see that will dampen retention. And this is a deliberate word pun because we're going to tie in our rainy day folder feature in Autoflow to this. Now, these mistakes are typically made before you hand the keys to the customer and they drive away. Mistake number 1. All findings are not being estimated and presented to your clients. We polled our audience on this in a webinar, I think was a few years back now, and this was the results. And if you look closely at the pie chart here, better than 75%, almost 75% of the respondents indicated that not all of the work was being estimated. Only 26.3% said, yes, I, in fact, can verify my team estimates everything that got inspected. Which part of the pie might we be in? Majority rules here. I'm just going to have to go with that. We know that a lot of times work is not estimated for one reason or the other, and that's not to be unexpected in some cases. The thing is, what are most shops doing right now for CRM? What are we asked to do all the time? Deferred work. Deferred work is based on what? Estimated items that didn't get approved. If an inspected item did not get estimated, will your deferred work utility automatically pick that up? The answer is no. There is likely items that were inspected and identified that were never estimated and therefore never had a chance to make it into your CRM system, breaking the process from a human behavior. So again, human behavior required to get that information at this stage, at least, still human behavior required. Not all findings are being estimated or presented. Mistake number 2 is the staff is not tracking unaddressed items in the DVI. So I have a question on this. When does the DVI become out of date? When does the DVI, the first inspection that you perform for that vehicle in that visit, no longer function as an accurate representation for the true state of health of the vehicle? If you think about it just very briefly, you're going to realize like, oh yeah, actually really the moment we do any of the repairs during that visit that we identified an issue with on the DVI, now the DVI is out of date. I had one example from one of our Autoflow clients that indicated, they told me an interesting story where a customer called very upset with them, very upset because the inspection clearly showed a filthy cabin air filter. And the client decided after looking at his inspection later on, he had picked up the vehicle already. I can do a cabin air filter, no problem. He went about, he got a part from the parts store down the street and goes to open up his cabin filter and thing looks brand new. Well, what's the shop trying to pull on me? He's thinking. Calls him up, mad, believing the shop was trying to rip him off, a breach of trust if there ever was. And the shop had to politely remind the client, you authorized us to fix that and do that for you when the car was here. Oh my, okay, that's interesting. The guy was looking at his inspection post-visit and it was still showing, of course, the dirty cabin air filter. No before and after pictures a lot of times in these things, right? Well, that's why there's the feature inside of Autoflow, and we'll cover this again here in a moment, of marking items yes and no approval. And then the results will be visible to the client that it was either addressed or it was not addressed in the visit. A very simple ability inside of Autoflow makes that super easy to avoid the confusion. Number 3, our staff does not use the DVI in the final checkout process. Now, if that client had a nice conversation with the shop about his cabin filter and they say, okay, we took care of this, and that, might have avoided the confusion. Now, in this particular case, what I'm talking about is really just not focusing on the invoice and payment only. And when we're busy, of course, what do we focus on? Get the signature, get the payment, post, close, see you later, bye. And there's a checklist that we're going to go over on this. But the part that really gets me in this day and age, where capturing attention is extraordinarily difficult, if there is no attempt to schedule their next visit, you are going to be fighting an uphill battle to send out reminders and hopefully capture their attention and get them back in when it's going to be beneficial for them. Exit scheduling is the term that I like to bring into this, and we'll talk about some of the strategies on how we can do this inside of Autoflow. So I want to go into the tool now, and I want to talk about a couple of the things that we just covered. And I want to start with the rainy day folder. The rainy day folder will play with any digital inspection that's on your board. I'm just going to go ahead and pick on Levi's Forerunner right here. Levi, I don't know if that's the picture. You described a much more rusty.
That's not the one.
Yeah, the Michigan is not on this one.
No. I don't really have any clear pictures of that one, but that was the one I found there.
And that's next webinar. That's your challenge. Have some pictures of your actual Forerunner. That one sounds exciting.
I got a nice one under the trees.
Good stuff. Yeah. So here's the thing. We have a couple of items on here. Swaybar bushings links. Okay, we've got that picture. What a service advisor, I want them to be able to do, and there's 3 chances to engage our rainy folder here. I want to mark items that were approved during the visit simply with a yes inside of the DVI. We do not automate this for you yet. There's too many integrations where there's too many differences inside of your shop management system. And sometimes what you call a swaybar link is going to be called something else by the parts company. Who knows? There's a lot to this that we'd love to see AI make simpler and just be able to read what you're doing. Folks, that's down the road yet. We need your team to engage with the yes, no toggles here. That is where you can make the click right as the client is making the approvals so that it will show up with that simple addressed, unaddressed item like we were just showing you. We want that to be what the client sees in the DVI, and that yes, no toggle is exactly the thing that makes that possible. Okay. Now, what does that mean for this visit? Well, it's kind of nice because when we look at the rainy folder, you're going to understand that there's actually a second point in time we could engage those yes, no toggles. We have a whole bunch of other tickets on here. We'll just pick on another visit from Josh. And we can go ahead and we can mark and change things inside of our rainy folder. The problem with this method of audit of the jobs is that this has to be done after the ticket is closed. This is really the last chance that I would describe to people to go in here and mark these things approved. This would edit the DVI history. That's a read-only document. Making a change with the yes, no toggle yeah, that was only a courtesy inspection. So we would leave all of these off, but maybe we did have a few approvals. These will remove that from the rainy folder and indicate on the DVI that those items are addressed. This matters because when we send this to the client, they're going to receive a DVI link. That DVI link is going to show the exact inspection that you did during your visit. We want it to be accurate with the addressed or unaddressed items. Now, if you're unfamiliar with that ability to see it, you need to understand in DVI setup, there is an option for this. And it's option number 10. Show customer items as addressed. You will want to make sure that is toggled on. It may be toggled off for most of you right now, because if you have not been in here to turn this on, or if you're not engaging your team to use the yes, no toggles, we wouldn't want everything to show unaddressed. It would, in effect, be lying to your client. Now, the other direction is a little bit more understandable. Some things probably were addressed, but you didn't tell them. We want you to actually toggle on item 10 and get your team able and willing to go ahead and mark items as addressed. Now, the other time that you can engage the rainy folder is when we're completing the QC. If you have a feature enabled, it's a setting I'll show you here in a moment. It will prompt whoever's submitting the quality control form to review the items that were marked red and yellow on the inspection. And you have another chance right here to go ahead and say, oh yeah, no, we definitely took care of the sway bar link on that one and the hoses. The headlight still has an issue, but that's that. And you can close that, and that updates the rainy folder.
That's a perfect time to do that, Craig.
I like that spot. I like it best.
Awesome.
Yeah. In my opinion, since we're advising and counseling from the DVI, marking the things as they do the approval, best practice. Yep. Second best practice is making it a part of your quality control process.
Can't miss it at that point.
Ideally, now you could ignore the pop-up and just close it, and that has happened. And this is an option in the quality control setup, right? Show DVI items is the option you'll want to engage there, folks. This is the option. So please engage quality control forms. Number one, we talked about that in our last webinar. I want to see QC sheets performed on every visit, period. It doesn't need to be immense. But we discussed that in part 2. Please go back and look at part 2 and you'll hear more about our quality control sheets. Yeah. But no, Levi, I agree with you. I think that in the QC process is a great spot for this to be vetted out once again.
Just in case if you miss a step there, if you do miss it, if you're advising off the DVI, it could be, too many moving pieces for some at that point. But if it's falls through the cracks, it doesn't disappear fully after you still have to go through the QC process. And at that point, you have that second chance to address that stuff. So that rainy day folder will reflect in real time. I like that.
Absolutely. And as an advisor, you understand this, right? The rainy day folder at its core is titled for the fact that, yeah, sometimes we get slow. What is the best way to fill the shop up with work? It's the things we've identified in our inspection process, right? And so this is our report. The rainy folder is your report of identified opportunity that exists with your existing clients. It just needs to be managed. It needs to be managed by staff. And the reason I say staff is because automating this, although there are, and I will show you, there is a way to automate the rainy folder. I need it managed by staff with those yes, no toggles. And we want to make sure that we're also tying in some relational element to this as well. But done well, this can absolutely replace your slow spells with a nice, steady inventory of cars. Now, in rainy folder, let's go back into it a moment here because I think there's some features inside of here that you need to be aware of. Firstly, let's just go to setup in this case. You will notice you can set up auto reminders for the rainy folder. You can do this, but I want you to think back to that scale of staff action versus automation. Automation is there as a safeguard to ensure things are consistently happening, but we want things to be consistently good. And things are not always good if you fully automate this and you just have a standard template with a link going out at an interval of your choosing. And I've had this question multiple times from multiple clients. Craig, when is the best time to automate our rainy day folder sends? And I do not have an answer. I cannot have an answer, and I should not have an answer because each and every vehicle on this board is going to have different findings that may need to be addressed at different intervals. And the time that it should be sent is when it is most relevant to that individual. And that is only something through our interactions that we can do, which is why this folder must be engaged very soon after a visit or immediately after closing a ticket, or at the worst case, first part of any given week on the conclusion of work from the last, go through this, have an individual own responsibility for managing this. It should be the advisor assigned to the ticket, right? And I think that's important. Back on the setup.
Do that at the end of the sale when we're cashing them out. We could say, hey, when can I check up with you to make sure that this thing is still safe and reliable? We did a big chunk here, but when can we do the rest of it? Or when would you like to bring it back in so we can re-inspect it? I mean, cars are lasting so much longer now. We're dealing with 20-year-old vehicles commonly that are still in pretty good shape, but they're going to need some work to keep
you
moving.
Got it.
And they want to keep their cars. They don't want to buy new cars all the time because of how expensive everything is.
Average age of car on the road now, 14 and a half years.
Is it? Wow.
It is. And that's up from record highs previously of around 12 and a half. It is insane how long the cars are out there on the road now. And when you look at the cost of the new ones, and the fact that they're not selling, that's not surprising. Now, there's some other advantages to this too. And Levi, I like what you're saying, because in the rainy folder, you can do this as well. What I said earlier matters, that managed by staff with relational data. I don't want to just rely on this template. I want to flavor this up a little bit for the individual that I'm speaking to. It's like, hey, Levi, I know you're going to be driving up north later on this summer. We want to make sure we get that sway bar link taken care of. Here's a link for the inspection results that we had when your car was in. Something you can have a little statement like that that's going to get more engagement than a simple templated message.
And we could, as advisors, we could put our names in there and say, hey, it's Levi checking in. Levi checking in with you, Craig, making sure, and they know that you care. It's just it's not just some automated robot coming through.
Correct. And it's really simple to do. So if I went into this one here for Levi's Forerunner and I wanted to say something, hey, in your previous visit, and it's okay, folks, that it's a little I there, because it would say, hello, Levi, comma. We performed an inspection. I would say, in your previous visit, we didn't address the thing that we should have. I don't know. Being creative on the spot.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah, you can do anything. Have it be personable. Point is, you can change this, and then you also can make sure that it's scheduled to go out. So why do I say, well, Craig, what if it's going to be like 4 weeks later and we want to send the text? I have to remember now to go 4 weeks? No, set this up immediately after that client's ticket's closed out. It'll populate in the rainy folder, and you can schedule the send of this message. And so, Levi, you're the client here in this case. I say, Levi, I understand. Would you like to schedule this right now? And you'd be like, nah, I don't know. So no problem. How about I send you a text in about 2 weeks? Sound good? Yeah, that'd be good. Perfect. I'll schedule that now. And then you'll hear from us like that. Perfect. Right? Click, click, done. Add to queue. So we have human engagement, folks, and we have an automated task blended together in perfect harmony for relational elements. We have good repeatability here. This is nice. We're going to have meaningful interaction from an automated thing. Partially automated, you might say, but I consider this a key feature.
And Craig, I like what you're doing with it as far as the way this showcases, because my instant reaction as a service advisor or former service advisor is like, man, you're creating more work for me. How am I going to keep up with this? And watching how this process works, it's a few extra button clicks on a 1,000, but not 1,000, but a lot of button clicks throughout the day.
Yeah.
But then it saves me time in the back end of, even if we're required to make phone calls to do check-ins, we can send those out and do that soft touch and, just drop in and say hi.
Yep, exactly.
And it does it. How long did that take? Not even a couple of minutes.
It all just takes a couple of seconds when you start to drip these things into the process you're already doing. It just takes awareness of the actual goal. And I feel like, and this is something a lot of shops will do, they put the emphasis on getting the sale on all the stuff. And it is not the case. The goal is retention. The goal is creating an experience that brings the client back in, not just once, not just twice, but they are yours. You are theirs. And this is a good relationship. The sales will happen if you can keep them coming back in the door. Pressure's off on selling everything now. But
we're not just looking for, I'm sorry.
No,
we're not just looking for one client. We're looking for the family of clients. This is we start with one that come in, and then we get their whole family once they realize, man, this shop that's in this small town in Michigan, they have it down, and it really surprises the customer.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I mentioned Bob Greenwood in every webinar I do, I swear, and I've repeated this so many times that all of our clients, I think, now can repeat this too. Our professional responsibility is make sure the vehicle is safe, reliable, and efficient. And I always like to tell people the thing Bob told me when I first heard that in his class. He asked the next question: how can you do that unless you inspect every car that comes in the shop? And so it becomes a really important piece of setting the expectation at the beginning of the visit, gather the relational data, right? We do a thorough DVI. We have our technicians involved. They understand their professional responsibility. They're adding the pictures and vehicle details, right? And of course, The service advisor reviews the DVI. We send the DVI. The sales process involves consulting from the DVI and tracking the approvals. And then during the checkout process, and I'll show you our vehicle delivery checklist here in a moment, we also ensure that their file, their vehicle record, is truly accurate, up to date. And that means making sure that the inspection is up to date and understood one more time. We review that with them there, and then we try to exit schedule. And if we fail to exit schedule, we will be sending out some relevant reminders. This is the way. So we talked about it in Rainy Folder. We've described a little bit about what that is. This is another view here of Rainy Folder, just showing the post-visit audit, addressing those items. Very simple for service advisors to mark those as complete. And here's a better example of what your client will see in the client view of the DVI. When you do receive a DVI link from Rainy Folder, it is slightly different than the client view that we normally send during the visit. There are really just two key differences. Well, one, you would actually see in either version of the inspection. The addressed, unaddressed is live and in action during the visit as well as after. But the Rainy Folder will include a little schedule next appointment button right inside of the DVI. And I want to highlight one more thing that's important, as a lot of you may have forgotten this since the setup was done. We'll go to company setup here. Way down at the bottom of the page, you get to pick where that appointment link inside the button of Autoflow will point. So down on the lower right, we can use our own native scheduler. If you're not using our online scheduler, oh, you definitely should be. We also have a new version of that not too far out, so stay tuned there. And but this is can be any link to any schedule or just your website. And they'll click on that and the button in Autoflow, and they'll go to whatever link you've placed in that field. It's at the very bottom of your company setup page. Okay. Now, before we go into, let's do this. Let's first go into the vehicle checklist that I was describing, because Levi, you were hitting on this just beautifully, like it was already sitting right in front of you. And I don't think it was.
So it wasn't.
Great intuition. So this is the thing. And I would give this to your team, and we're happy to provide this to you. Please feel free to reach out, email us here, hit me or Levi. It's our first and last name at autoflow.com will be our emails. You should have them already, I hope. But this is a good example of a checklist. Feel free to screenshot on your screen as well. You can craft your own by all means, but hey, we have this ready to rock. First and foremost, before we give the keys to the customer, we're making sure the quality control process is done. Check item number 1, right? And during that process, we verify that the DVI items are marked addressed or unaddressed so that our Rainy Folder is ready to do its magic. We don't have to worry about managing it later on after we close this ticket if we do it in the QC process. And then some other things that we like to do. And I've talked to so many of our clients that are doing some great things on this. They always leave a handwritten note, or they ask a question up front at the visit. One of our Canadian clients, I love it up there. They're so friendly. They ask each client coffee or chocolate in a little survey, and they'll pick one. And that is the small gift that they'll receive after each visit. And some of the people keep coming back because, my goodness, they're the best coffee beans they've ever had. So little clever things like that.
And really you better have those coffee beans the next time too, because they expect it.
Yeah, don't change providers.
We did popcorn, and if we didn't have the popcorn there, they would be like asking for it. We get phone calls about
I love it.
I didn't receive my popcorn. Well,
nice.
Here, I have 2 bags for you. Please come get it.
That's great. Yeah, little gifts go a long way to generating
a car wash, cleaning. I mean, just small little things.
Yeah.
To show them, just so that vehicle that came in just leaves a little bit better than when it arrived.
Yep. It's just one of those things in this world where so many things are automated, and it's so hard to capture attention, and it's so hard to just send something out to make people feel good. A little physical, tangible item is.
You talk about attention, and to go back on that rainy day when that text comes out, that next one where you can set up the appointment, that's so nice to do because of the attention. Oh, my attention is directly on this message that came in. Here's the link. I do need to get my car. I set it up. I forget about it. I go on my Facebook now and mess around or whatever. I'm joking, but
Yeah.
you know how it is. Like our attentions are just taken away from us
Yeah.
all day long.
All day long. And I have another strategy we'll show you here in a moment on the follow-up text. But back to the checklist. I think this is important because once you do send the text to let the client know the vehicle's ready, that's one of the strategies we teach. We always want to use that ready button inside of the application. I like to teach a strategy where I'll hit the ready button to change it to the ready status. And I have that 5-minute timer built into it, similar to how I use my waiting on approval status. The reason I do that is that if I have not heard, I have a call to action in that text message, by the way. Let us know if you need a ride. We're happy to pick you up, right? And usually I'll even say in a lot of the redrafts I've done of that status, I'll say, please let us know when you plan to pick it up. I want them to tell me. They'll either text you back or they will call you. And if they don't make the arrangements by text, I'm calling them. And that timer is there to let me know I need to give them a call. The text might not have even been received. We don't know, right? So that'll turn red and I respond to those. And oh, by the way, if they do let you know when they come to pick it up, it'll, you know how it goes, folks. They needed it today, but then they say, okay, cool. We'll be there Monday after the weekend. And there we go, right? That's that. Now you know not to have to bother with that for a few days. But they will eventually show up to pick up their car. I assure you. They need it. I hope. Golly, there's always a camper in every shop. Every shop.
I hope they don't
Always
leave.
one. So now they're here and we're talking to them. We must inquire if they have any questions regarding the visit. You have to really draw this out of them. I don't know, Levi. I've noticed that people are always afraid to ask questions.
Sometimes they just don't know what to ask.
Correct.
I think is what it is. They're so afraid of the price more than anything. I swear that's what they focus
Is
on a
the
lot
price
of.
the same as we discussed? Is that question coming up here?
How much are you going to
Yeah.
tell me it's more? Because every
Yeah.
time I come to this shop or a shop, when you got a new relationship with somebody, it's always more or something happened. But yeah,
Yes.
they don't know what to ask.
No, they
And
don't.
sometimes in a big environment, they might feel intimidated to
Sure.
ask those questions when they're surrounded by a lot of people. It's not as personable
Yeah.
if it's like a one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah. Even specifically asking, do you have any questions about this, about that, and drive them to those things? Like, nope, nope, nope. Great. All right. So here now is what we've inspected and what we've taken care of today. So I'm going to go through the inspection with you now, and we're going to just take a quick look. These are the red items. You can filter it out on your own screen, or you can invite them to open it up on there. I love the idea of the monitors that flip out and you have the weatherman type report situation there. Being able to show them easily through some structure in your shop, looking right at the screen, filter out in Autoflow the actual red items versus the green. You remember how to do that? You go inside of the DVI. You'd be able to show very easily. These are the things that we identified that should be taken care of, and here's the things we addressed. It'd be so easy to do right there. Now, if your shop's using private notes, maybe you don't want to use this view. Maybe look at those first and make sure it's ready. But yeah, that's a key thing. And that changes the way that conversation goes, because I've made this mistake too. And Levi, in the transmission industry, we had 3-page invoices pretty much every time, because state law here in Michigan, unlike some states, we have to itemize every single line that goes in there. So part. So it's always showing people 3 pages of things. And that's usually how I would have done it 15 years ago. I would focus on the invoice. Nowadays, I would be leveraging the DVI in that conversation. Here's the things we inspected. Here's the things we addressed. And then the invoice is like, here's the price that we discussed. Need your signature and we're done.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to flip the monitor around, basically, just
Mm-hmm.
so they can see what you're seeing. They always are trying to get around and they're curious of what you're looking at, so you can just keep it open. Here you go, and keep moving.
Yep. Now, what does this solve? You've always had the question, I'm sure. We have the question all the time. What else is there on the vehicle? Did you look at it? Or all these other things? Like, it shouldn't even be a question if you're following this process. But if you had a broken inspection process, you'll know it's broken if the customer ever asks you while they're picking up the car, did you look at the whatever? And
Transmission fluid.
yeah, anything. Yeah.
Yeah, anything.
Yep. This covers a lot of things like, oh, yes, of course we looked at that and this is what we found. It sure beats having them call back, hey, ever since you touched it, this thing is wrong or that thing's wrong. This covers a lot of the bases on the QC side of things. I used to hate that. Like we discussed something, it was maybe even on an invoice that we should do this thing, but then they have forgotten it and they do not read the invoice later on at all. It's not pulled out of the glove box ever again in most cases. So
which would make that exit strategy even more important, so you don't have to take those calls.
Correct. So this is where we move in. Any unaddressed item, hey, this should probably be taken care of within whatever time frame that you could possibly assess based on whatever the need is. Would you like us to schedule that now? It can be hard to get in, so we should probably schedule that soon or whatever it is. This takes that load off of depending on automated reminders to get the customer to come back in. It's not the best approach in our noisy world. So exit scheduling. I always tell people, think of this like your dentist. I don't leave the dentist without setting up my next appointment at the dentist. I don't think I'd make it to the dentist if they did that because they are always jammed up.
They got to be the best at this, at customer retention in any field.
Oh, yeah. Veterinary clinics, too. Yep, they're very good. Yep. A lot of the medical fields are getting better at this.
But we could be like that, too, in the automotive field. And there's only so much money that a client's going to have at that time of visit. And for some, right? Some cars come in, we just spent $2,000 or $3,000, let's just say, on fixing the safety items. On that exit, now we can use this to leverage the maintenance that we want to do to keep it running. When maintenance might not be a priority for them, but we can say, all right, well, now you need $1,000 worth of maintenance, and we can do 500 of it next visit. And then after that, and then get a game plan going for them. Do it monthly, and then they'll be good for a while, and then they'll come back when they need you after that.
True counseling and advising is going to go into the depths of those conversations. Absolutely. Yep. Well said, Levi.
Thank you.
So now, failing to exit schedule, because let's be clear, folks, sometimes they say no. It's actually probably more like 70% of the time they cannot. They don't know. They aren't quite sure. They're not ready to, whatever reason, commit to bringing it back in. I'm going to show you another strategy that isn't just on the rainy day folder, although the rainy day folder is my go-to if it does involve inspection items. Sometimes there's visits that are just going to be a generic reminder that we need to send out to the customers. There's a very easy way to leverage Autoflow for custom reminders of anything. And this can be a simple approach. Okay, Levi, I understand you're not ready to make an appointment. How about I send you a text here in about 2 weeks and we'll touch base then? Sound good? Yeah, that'd be fine. They typically won't say no twice, and you've just gained their permission for a message. Now, all you need to do, find the customer there. You can search for them, of course, and you can see scheduled messages that are already going out. You can definitely, and you'll see it on the checklist. You'll explain when they're going to hear from you next, but you can go straight to the reminders page from here. And what I want to draw your attention to is a little known button in Autoflow, but it is a powerful feature that every one of you on any tier of the software has access to. Add custom reminder, and it actually has benefits not just for clients, but also for internal purposes. You can send a text or a notification to yourself inside of the application, which can be a lot of fun. But customer reminder. So, all right, we're going to start looking for Levi, right? Boom, we click that, we type in the message, remember, and we can choose the date and time that we're going to send them that message. So you said 2 weeks would be good, Levi. Perfect. I've got you in the queue there. You're going to see the message from me, and we'll have a conversation then. Sound good?
Sounds great. Now, when I text back in, where does that come to, Craig?
That's going to go straight back in the text manager, right where you're already receiving inbound messages. You do not need to have an active visit on here. So yeah, Levi, when you text us back, I'll see the message right here on the screen, or we can stage a phone call. Whatever works. Pretty straightforward. I like it. I like it a lot. That is a powerful feature. Hey, look, there it is. Levi just texted me back. He's a clever guy. Nice. Thanks, Levi. All right. Now, covering the things you already did discuss during the visit, reselling the client on the service they chose. That's an important piece. Expressing the benefits of warranty, of course. Offering replaced parts required here in Michigan, and I think everywhere. I hope. They technically own the broken parts. Yeah. And
We
then
have a
that's
note
it.
in here from one of our teams. I would love if a place sent me an oil change reminder. I always forget to look at the sticker. It hasn't fallen off yet.
Nice.
That and tire rotations, because it's easy to forget. What's that tire rotation? We just sold them a new set of tires for $1,000. Want to keep those going?
Yeah.
Yep. Simple
So,
things.
so here we go then. All right. Neat features, Craig. Custom reminders. We talked about those. There's some other things too. And I actually I forgot to show you this. Service reminders, folks, back towards automation. Some integrations have this, some do not. If you're on a level 5 integration, we have automated service reminders. And so we can look at, let's see here, this month. There we go. Joe Paluca had his van in here. We have automated service reminders. This is using machine learning and AI. What we're doing is we're looking at the shop management system history, and we're identifying when certain services are performed. It's also able to see the mileage. Which, don't look at my mileage. I keep typing in bad mileage. Have better odometer tracking in your shops. If you don't get accurate odometer readings, you cannot do adequate retention. I was talking with my friend Rui Martins on this the other day, and that is a real serious problem in a lot of shops where there's flat out zeros on the visit. My goodness, you have to track this if you're doing true consulting and advising, right?
How do you honor a warranty with no mileage on it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I've been guilty, not trying to judge. Oh my gosh. I get
It
it.
happens.
It does. It needs to not. Yep. But this is our system will recognize in the shop management system history if you've done a job that correlates to one of these 5 types of services. Right now, these are the 5. There will be more in the future. But you can, of course, set up the parameters there and use our algorithms to do a predictive reminder method there. This is very effective and very much automated. All you need to do is, like we were discussing in that checklist, is let the client know when they can expect to hear from you next and let them know that that's coming. And hopefully they're opted in for it and understand the benefits. So this can be a simple message or include the appointment link. And it'll use the appointment link in your company setup, by the way. Makes it very easy for them to schedule that appointment and or dialogue with you, and you can set it up for them. Some people will want to do that. But this is a powerful feature. And if you don't want to use it, by the way, automated, you don't need to. This feature can operate. You don't have to. I think it's in the middle tier of Autoflow unautomated. But if you want to automate it, it's tied in with our marketing module. We'll talk more about our marketing module in an upcoming webinar. But automating it is a button that you would have to gain access to through that. So if it isn't automated, that's okay. All you would have to do, if I cancel this reminder here, is go in. It'll populate the items that need reminders in here. And all you do is you have an individual on your staff own this, and they will go and add a predictive reminder. When they click that, now it is scheduled. So not automating this is fine because it also gives you an audit opportunity here. So you don't send the reminders to individuals who don't need it. And then if you click on this button, you're going to notice you can update the message to be more relevant to that individual. And when you hit update, that will be the message instead of the template. And I love when you have someone that goes in and personalizes these sort of things. It is so much more impactful. And this video will be on YouTube pretty quick now with this webinar, Charlie. So I don't know exactly when, but Scott can chat you the answer on that. It's much quicker than it used to be. So almost immediately, I think within an hour. That's one of the benefits of this. Now, let's go back to this piece of the conversation. Is this you're going to want to discuss with your service advisors as well? Are we asking too much of them to engage all of these things? How can we get them to engage these things better when we know for a fact they are too busy? Folks, there's a simple concept, and it was taught to me first by Bob Greenwood, and a client of Autoflow and coach friend of mine, Rui Martins, teaches this today. Having a reservationist role in the shop makes a lot of sense. This is the same slide from the beginning of this conversation where we talked about all the things we're asking for a service advisor to do. What if we cut it right in half? And it might look a little different in some facilities or another. What if there's another individual who is responsible for managing these things, has ownership of these tasks? I think that is exactly the way it should be. It could even be a remote worker. It could be a part-timer in some cases, but they are going to have access to the data. your shop management system and Autoflow. They're going to be able to have a phone that can engage with the clients and the texting ability naturally through Autoflow as well. And they can manage a lot of these things so that our advisors can focus on the things we need skilled advisors to be able to focus on. There's no way I could go into the depth of what a reservationist role looks like in this conversation. I don't have to. We do have a podcast, episode 022 on my podcast, Speak Up Effective Communication, which is on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Rui Martins was my guest on episode 022. And on Monday, I believe this coming Monday, I forget what episode it is. It's like 056 or 7 or something like that. Rui helps me with part 2 of that same conversation. This episode 022 that I'm linking here will talk about what a reservationist role looks like before and during the visit. The episode we just recorded will talk about a lot of the things we're talking about here today, and we'll describe how a reservationist role will work in the retention process after the ticket is closed. And it's a really great conversation that I'm going to strongly encourage. Now, when do your retention efforts begin? I hope you're recognizing that that answer is going to be, well, at the beginning of the visit. Right away, we are already thinking towards the future and how we're going to manage this car, not just today, but any day that they happen to need us for whatever the needs really are. Now, with that, I invite any final questions, and please, I want you to reach out to us. Here's how. You can reach out directly to me, Craig.O'Neill, 2 L's, at autoflow.com. I can teach you how to make a rainy day spreadsheet. If you're not currently an Autoflow client, no problem. I have a simple spreadsheet format that I can use to help you get started with something like that, where you can at least put some links into a simple spreadsheet. But the vehicle delivery checklist as well. We're happy to provide that for you if you didn't grab it already in a screenshot. And please do check out the conversation here as well. I think this will be a beneficial next step for you to listen to more details on this topic and more. But this particular episode is going to be, I think, it could be revolutionary, truly, to the aftermarket. Rui does a good job explaining what the reservations looks like. Yep, it's a cool role, and it is one that I will. We're gonna have to get Rui on here for a webinar, and we'll discuss it here down the road as well. But yeah, that is our topic for today, folks. And any other features, if there's any last minute questions that you have, I'll be happy to answer them. Levi, I think we covered it, man.
I think we did. And ending on it, it's let's build a customer for life and let's automate the process while we do it. I like the idea of the reservationist role. That's new to me, but just kind of like looking at what the potential could be for that role. I really like it because it takes stress off of the service advisor role. And really, like you said, just to back you up, is to focus on what is their attention on the car that's in front of them.
You got it, man. You got it. Hey, and if we have their focus now, that's great, because otherwise we do have features to address this. And I'll be talking with Dan Torregross on this in an upcoming webinar. Marketing campaigns, building audiences, and having steady drips and other types of methods of automated follow-up are possible through our marketing module inside of Autoflow. And this is a cool feature on the automation side, very much, that can complement your actual staff efforts. The issue I see in the world today, systems like this that will focus on the automation, a lot of shops will embrace the automation and they stop trying with their staff. These things work great when you're already engaging people with your staff towards your retention efforts, but this helps prevent others from falling through the cracks as well. So stay tuned. All right. Levi, thanks for being with me here, man. I always appreciate your insight on these topics and more. And please, folks, reach out and let us know if there are topics that we can address that are specifically interesting to you. Otherwise, stay tuned. Autoflow.com/webinars is where this will be hosted. You can register after the fact and watch this video then. But you probably already are if you saw that message.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Levi. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon.